1 p.m. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The Supreme Court has declared the disqualification of lawmakers under Article 62, Clause 1, Subclause F of the Constitution will be for life. The Prime Minister says the government will work with the Council of Common Interests to develop a cohesive national health policy. In occupied Kashmir, peaceful protests will be held across the valley after Jummah prayers today against the killing of civilians by the Indian forces. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has warned against negative spillover effects of US-China trade war. And now the news in detail. The Supreme Court of Pakistan has declared the disqualification of lawmakers under Article 62, Clause 1, Subclause F of the Constitution would be for life. The reserved judgment of the five-member bench of the Supreme Court was pronounced by Mr. Justice Umar Atta Bandial today. The bench was headed by the Chief Justice of Pakistan, Mr. Justice Mian Saqib Nisar. The verdict on different petitions and appeals challenging the length of disqualification under the said article was reserved by the court on the 14th of February this year. It is the same article under which former Prime Minister Mohammad Nawaz Sharif and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf leader Jahangir Khan Tareen were disqualified by the Supreme Court. The Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, Maryam Aurangzeb, has said today's verdict of the Supreme Court has come at a time when the trial against the Sharif family was continuing before the Accountability Court. Talking to newsmen outside the Supreme Court premises in Islamabad, she said the people would not accept disqualification of elected prime ministers. Replying to a question, she said all constitutional organizations, including the Supreme Court, are respectable. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi says the government will work with the Council of Common Interest to develop a cohesive national health policy. He was speaking at a ceremony to mark the World Health Day in Islamabad today. The Prime Minister said the government would also provide necessary resources for National Health Survey. The Prime Minister said,
the Government of Pakistan wishes to reaffirm its commitment to the provision of health care, quality and affordable health care to the people of Pakistan. So that is why the federal government today has taken this opportunity to once again assure that we are committed to the provision of quality health care for the people.
Shahid Khaqan Abbasi said besides quality healthcare, the government is also focusing on the issue of malnutrition, population program and human resource development. The Prime Minister said the Prime Minister's health program is targeting the poorest of the poor and there was a need to expand the program. The Senate today unanimously passed the Supreme Court and High Court extension jurisdiction to the Federally Administered Tribal Areas Bill 2018. The bill was moved by the Law Minister Mahmood Bashir Wark and is aimed at extending the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of Pakistan and the Peshawar High Court to the federally administered tribal areas. The National Assembly has already passed the bill. Now it would go to the President for his assent to become an act of the Parliament. The Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Sheikh Aftab Ahmed, assured the House that no changes are being made in the 18th Amendment of the Constitution. He was responding to a calling attention notice moved by Mia Raza Rabbani and Sassi Palijo. The Minister said the unanimously passed 18th Amendment is a marvelous achievement of the political parties for which Mia Raza Rabbani's contributions are commendable. The Chairman Senate Mohammad Sadiq Sanjarani also admitted an adjournment motion moved by Dr. Sikandar Mandro to discuss the report that Pakistan will run out of forests within the next 50 years if deforestation continues at the current rate. The House has now been prorogued. In occupied Kashmir, peaceful protests will be held across the valley after Jummah prayers today against the killing of civilians, indiscriminate use of pellet guns and vandalizing of property by the Indian forces. The call for the protest has been given by the Joint Resistance Leadership, comprising Sayyid Ali Gilani, Mirwais Omar Farooq and Mohammad Yasin Malik. Meanwhile, many people were injured after the Indian forces used brute force on protesters in Kupwara district today. People staged forceful demonstrations in Tehergam area of the district against the Indian brutalities in the territory. The head of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Angel Gurria, says the United States and China are negotiating behind the scenes to ease trade tensions. Speaking in Tokyo today, he said nobody wins in a high-level trade war. Therefore, everybody was alarmed by the announcements of tariffs. He warned that there would be negative spillover effects from any trade war between the United States and China instead of hitting these two countries only. The Royal Saudi Air Defense Forces intercepted and destroyed a ballistic missile fired by the Houthi rebels from Yemen towards the kingdom. A spokesman of the Saudi-led coalition said the missile was deliberately fired towards populated areas of Jizan city. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch the video streaming of our bulletins live on the link, Facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.